All right, so let's continue. This one problem has taken us the whole lectures, but it worth it. I could have gone and just calculate the numbers because what I'm trying to do here, is not about just calculating the numbers. You need to understand what are the economic interpretation behind those numbers, something like that. So it's important. You can come and calculate half numbers, but can you interpret them? And the goal of mathematics, business mathematics, is to interpret numbers, give them economic meanings to them. You will see that if we move on to non-linear equation, whereby most of it is business application, what we are doing right now, most of
Tajuri,
it, yes?
my screen is a little bit funny because I'm not seeing nothing. I'm just seeing some. I
It's
don't
okay.
understand.
Yeah, I haven't shared the screen. It will come.
Okay.
So it's important now. What we are seeing is economic application, but when we start non-linear equation, we will have a lot of business application as well. So the business students, you should not be worried. We have a lot of business applications as well. But this is about application in business and economics. All right. So let's continue with the draft. We have this, and we have the income at this axis, and we have the expenditure at this axis. And what we are, the equation is what? 0.6y plus, was it 22, I think, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
22,
22.
22.
Yeah, I'm not good in remembering things. Okay, so we have this. So always this 22 you have here for this model, it will always be the intercept, you understand? So we have it here. So this is representing what? The expenditure line. You understand? So as I told you, this is the expenditure, that is the consumption and investment. This is the expenditure line. But the income line, we represent it with what? With a 45-degree line, geometry, you understand? So we will represent it with this. So this is the income. So this is this, and this is what? The consumption and the investment line. So where they intersect is what is the income. I understand. So the income here can be represented as Y or I. Some people use, but let's use Y for consistency's sake, so that some people will confuse. So we
Mr. Tajuri,
represent it as Y. This
Tajuri.
expenditure is nothing but what? Consumption plus investment. Yes.
I want to ask a question, and that is the how they go, the income line. That is the income. You said we
Yes.
should represent it by a 45-degree angle, right?
Yes.
Is it that what that is the only thing, like is it a fixed that is
It's
whenever
fixed.
we
Yeah.
are doing the graph? Okay, thank you, sir.
It's fixed. This is 45-degree line. We don't need to go to geometry. Just draw the 45 here and represent it with income line. If we want to go into that argument also, it will take us to another area of economics, which is not
No problem, no
our
problem. I
topic, yeah?
understand.
Uh, Something like that. But you can prove it why we are using it 45, but that is not something that is related to our discourse, but just represent it with 45-degree line. Okay, so where this 45-degree line, which is our income, intersect with our consumption, which is our expenditure line, then we have the equilibrium in the market. And we know that the equilibrium, when we calculate it, the equilibrium level of income was what? Was 55. And at the same point, our consumption plus investment will be 55. You can prove it. Because remember that when we calculate our consumption, our equilibrium
So,
level of
Mr.
consumption,
Ture,
yes.
our consumption was not 45, it was 43.
No, it's 43. Is what I'm saying. I said the
Yeah,
equilibrium level of income is 55.
yeah.
So
Yes,
if
it's going to be 43 plus 12,
43
I think.
plus 12,
Yeah,
that will give you 55, not
yeah,
so.
the 12 is the investment. Yes, yes.
Exactly.
The
So
C is the consumption. Yeah.
exactly. So we have this equilibrium. So this is how we graphic,
Sorry. You said 43 plus what?
12.
Okay, okay.
So because what this is representing is the expenditure side, that is consumption plus investment. Our consumption, equilibrium level of consumption, which was what? 43. Obviously, investment was given to us was 12. So if you add this, it will give you what? 55. So that's the 55 we have here. And we know that our equilibrium level of income was 55. We computed all this. So graphically, this is how we represent the equilibrium in the national income model. Now we could solve this within, if you know, because what, we took a lot of time because I was trying to give you economic interpretation of certain things. I could have calculated this and we move ahead with our life. But what will be the point of mathematics for science is about the interpretation. That's what even matters more than even the calculation. So we have to know that the economic interpretation of these things, it's key, it's important. So now we have our graph. This is what we all need to know about when it comes to this model. So I can even restate the model. This is what was given to us. The model was consumption plus investment. Then they said the consumption is what? 0.6 times Y plus 10. And they told us that investment is what? Is 12. So this was the model that was given to us. And they asked us to calculate what? The equilibrium level of national income or income. They also asked us to calculate the equilibrium level of consumption, which we did. We have 55 here, we have 43 here. From here, what we did was we graph it. So when we graph it, we have this. So here, to graph this, we need to find, substitute here. When we substitute, we have an equation like this, 0.6 Y plus 10. Then plus the 12. So you add this, then you have 22. That form our intercept. Then we have a 45-degree line represents our income. So where they intersect is the equilibrium level of income, then equilibrium level of expenditure. That is consumption plus investment. This is what we did so far. I explained it within, I don't know, less than 1 minute. But I had to take a lot of steps so that people could understand. People could understand the economic reasoning behind certain numbers like expenditure multiplier, autonomous spending or autonomous multiplier, things like that. Those concepts are important. Sometimes in the questions, I ask you to calculate what is the expend. I will ask you what is the expenditure multiplier. I could ask you what is the autonomous spend. So these are some of the things, if you calculate them also, you have to be able to interpret them. Numbers are not means, they are not ends in themselves. You can calculate them, you say that, okay, the multiplier is 2.5. But how would you explain if your grandma asks you what does this 2.5 represent? How could you explain to someone who doesn't have economics background? So this is the goal here. So we come to the end of the questions. If you have anything, comment at the question, whatever, you can ask. The floor is open.
Mr. Ture, I have a question.
Sure, go on, please.
Part of the example that you have given, it's about the midterm exam.
Yeah, we will talk about midterm. But go on, I will reserve like 10 minutes. We talk about it. But go on, you can ask your question.
That's just what I want to ask.
Sorry?
But I'm going to do it next week. That's what I want.
I plan to talk about the midterm like maybe 10 or 15 minutes before we finish. I think from my experience with this university, the midterm is at the discretion of the lecturer. So I was thinking, but that's my thinking. So that's why it will be a consultative process. I don't like to impose things. So I will maybe I was suggesting like we do it on the 7th of next month, but either on the 31st or 7th. These are the 2 dates that I have on my mind. I don't know how well it will sit with the majority of the class. So that's why I was planning to take 10 minutes and we talked about it. I don't know which date the majority, because we will go with the majority, even though some people will not agree with what majority say. So that's the plan. Either 31st or on the 7th.
On the 7th.
Okay, but it's fine.
All right, so we talked about it. Then if we don't have consensus here, then there will be a poll in the WhatsApp group. We can vote again as we did before. Any other question before we go ahead?
Mr. Ture.
Go on,
Yeah, because of network issue, I was out. I just came in. I heard that you are saying 31st or on the 7th, but I don't understand what you are discussing about.
Okay, someone asked about when will be the midterm. I think what I told her was this, that is at the discretion of the lecturer. So, but I have 2 dates on my mind. It's either on the 31st of this month or on the 7th. But I will spare 5 minutes or 10 minutes, then we discuss about it. We did majority, because we'll go with the majority, we'll say. That's what we were talking about.
Okay.
All right.
Okay,
so if you don't have any question or contribution or comment, we go ahead. We look at another model. Remember, this model that we looked at is a model without government activities. Not so. I think we all understand that, right? So what about a mod? Sorry?
Yes, we understand that it is without a government.
Exactly. So when we introduce government, you understand, it make the model even more messy, you understand? That's why they always said government should not interfere in the market, because when they do, things get complicated. So it's the same thing here. Once we introduce government, things get complicated, you understand? Things will get complicated. They will bring tax, they will bring spending, something like that. So this model is simple, but once we introduce government sector or the activities of the government, we will have a messy model. So this is what we will do next. So you will see additional equation, you will see taxation, something like that. So that's why they said government should not involve in a market. There should be a player, a referee. So when we introduce government spending and taxation will come into play. We will see that model very soon. But for that, we will take a practical example of that. So this class is ending at what time? 11, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Or is it too much? Let me leave you with this. You go and consume that.
Yeah, yes, it's too much. Let us consume this one. If you want to add another thing, you'll be confused.
So what you will do, go and try to resolve this model. And also the book I gave, in fact, all of these are coming from the notes I share with you. They even explain it further, you know, giving you some explanation that I might skip, because lectures and textbook, what is in textbook might be different, so something like that. But I will introduce the government model, but I will not solve it. We will solve it next class. I like to introduce something so that I will give you something to think about, so that when you come, it's also in the book, the whereby of the government being introduced to the model. So let's just look at the model briefly. I will not solve it. You understand? So when we introduce government, let's take a practical example of it. We have Y equals to consumption plus investment. This is where we stop with our simple model. But now we are introducing government. And when we introduce government, what comes to your mind? They will do taxation, they will tax you. You understand? So taxation will also comes into the picture. So remember, now we introduce government, this consumption, this one, the investment will still remain investment, it won't change. But consumption, originally, this is how consumption look like, A times the Y plus the B. But remember now that since government is in the picture, this Y, that is the income that the consumers receive, and they use it for this consumption, they will tax this. they will tax it. So if they tax it, it means that instead of this consumption function, this one we have here, it will change. So we will subtract tax from this income. So the new consumption will be what? A times the Y, that is the income the people receive, minus the government tax, then plus the B. Are you following?
Yes, please.
So now, before they were receiving this full Y, that is the full income. But now government comes into the picture that you are not taking all this income home. We are taxing you, and that tax we represent it with T. Remember, Y minus T, we call it what? Disposable income. This is the income after tax. So normally we represent this as what? YD. So when you see YD, it means disposable income. So it's the income that is left to you after paying tax. So most of you that are working, normally what is paid to you is the disposable income, because your company will pay tax to the GRA before you even receive your salary. So we call it disposable income, and we represent it with YD. So therefore, this consumption function will be A times YD plus B. And we know that our YD is what? Y minus T. But we also have to define what our tax means. But let's stop here. And this is just an introduction to give you something to think about, before next class. So when government enters in the picture, they will impose tax. And that tax, it will reduce the income that the consumers use to do their consumption. So Y minus T, we call it disposable income. So we also have to define this tax. We have to have a function for it, which is normally the tax that the government receives. It depends. Normally, they will do lump sum tax and also a tax that depends on the income level. So it will be T times the income plus the lump sum tax. But let's stop here. What we have done so far is too much. The best way to learn is like, after here, you go over what we have done and try to resolve it. You also, the notes I gave you, all of these are coming from there. You check it as well. So we will stop here and let's discuss about the exams and midterm rather. So the midterm, the location will be at the campus. So the campus at, is it Bruce B? I don't know. Or Costa Road, I don't know. But we know the campus. So the second one is the time, or the date rather. I have two suggestions. That is the next Saturday, which will fall on the 31st, right?
Yes.
31st, we are in October, okay? 31st October. Or we can do it the following next month, which is before on 7 November.
Let's do it 7 November.
So we have these two dates, and the time is the same time as the class. It will be 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Any of these dates, the time is constant. It will be 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. 2 hours exam. So the question is which date class? That's what matters.
7 November.
Okay, we have one. Anyone?
7 November.
Yes, only 7. So
31st.
Okay, we have one 31st.
7 November.
7 November.
7 November.
Who is here saying that even?
Any other
7
31st?
November.
7 November.
31st November. 31st.
Okay, we have two. Any other 31st?
7th November.
7
7th
November.
of
Actually, Mr. Aime Marenga, they are like,
Mr. Ture,
Yes.
I think I heard Mr. Ben the last time saying that midterm is from 26th of October to 30th. So since that is the case, since
Yeah,
next week,
unless I have seen the mail as well, but I don't think it's something that is like binding that you have to do it unless I call him. But from my from my experience, I think it's also at the discretion of the lecturer. I might call him, you understand, and ask him, whether it's binding, meaning that the lecturers must conduct the midterm within it, something like that. Because for me, it's more about, exams are important, but it's more about the knowledge. I want to cover more, you understand? So I will call him and ask him whether there's a possibility, because I want to cover more, that to push the exam, to do it on the 7th November. If the answer is yes, after this class, I will call him and talk to him, and I will get back to you people through WhatsApp, or I can talk to the class rep and get the class rep get to you people, something like that. But I saw the mail as well. You understand? So tentatively, we let's take 7 November, and then I will talk to him, because a lot of people wants to do it on the 7 November as well. But if the school admin said I have to do it within this period, then we can take 31st October. Is that clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So tentatively, we take 7 November, but if I talk to Ben and he said I must do it within the stipulated period, then we are going with 31st October.
Okay.
And this will be communicated to you clearly. So let's, I cannot call everyone. So what we have in common is the WhatsApp group. This will be communicated there. Tentatively 7 November. So if I talk to Ben, I will come back again and make that we have a specific date.
Okay.
All right. So on that note, we closed, and I uploaded the videos. I'm very sorry. Sometimes my schedule can be pretty hectic, but it's uploaded, and I'll do my best. I won't promise this time, but I'll do my best to upload this one also as well.
Okay.
All right, guys, have a nice weekend, and talk to you guys very soon, and bye-bye.
Right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.